All right, let's see. We can talk about the Macaulay prop. The Macaulay that goes on the Skycatcher, which is a Cessna right here that they discontinued. A little light sport kind of a thingy there. So the Macaulay, let's see, Macaulay. What do I have here? The 1L100 fixed pitch composite prop. It is all composite. I don't know what that means. Well, wood is a composite, so it means no metal. All composite, 2-blade, fixed pitch. Used on the Cessna 162 Skycatcher. It says, it being what I wrote, propeller consists of a continuous fiber single piece design. So there you have it. There's your single piece composite that I was saying. I don't know if anybody makes one. I've never worked on a Skycatcher, so I don't know. Let's see. Design giving it high strength as well as lightweight. The 1L100 is 5 foot 6 inches in diameter and weighs just 9.3 pounds. That is 14 pounds less than the current aluminum propeller used on the Skycatcher. So it weighs 9.3, which is 14.2 less. Not less than aluminum prop. All right, then the other one is the Ivo prop. That is carbon fiber. I just wrote carbon fiber, but I think come on. I thought I had a picture of the Ivo prop here somewhere.
So on the next page.
There we go. So Ivo prop, carbon fiber, but it looks like it's carbon fiber over wood. Yeah? They said I had a friend that had one of these on his experimental little biplane, and I flew it. Did the ground adjustment for him on this, and it sounds like you're breaking the prop to pieces. It just cracks and cracks, and like, this can't be good. Sure you want me to keep doing this? Yeah, keep doing it. I was dumb enough to stand in line with it while he moved the throttle, and you could see it snake every time he changed it. He would just do this. Well, I don't think it's supposed to move like that. I'm going to stand over here. So, but it was kind of a cool little prop.
Can you change the pitch on composite props?
Depends on the design. Yeah. So, like this one is ground adjustable, right? Got the jam nut, and you got this big nut here, and you change it, and it runs it in and out here, and it has these little devices here that tension the blades, and the blades will move. So it's totally ground adjustable. Let me see. I had some other pictures here. I thought. What if I just did this? Let's say, there we go. This one here. See how these blades are attached inside the hub? So loosen those 4 bolts, and these 4 and those 4, and you can twist it. So fully ground adjustable. What does that say? Main hub bolts. Prop hub bolts. Oh, I see. In other words, that seems obvious to me, but somebody put them on there so they would not touch the wrong bolts. So that's your warp drive prop. The 8mm bolts are to 15 foot-pounds. And it's not very much, is it? 120 inch-pounds. Oh yeah, that was the model designators. Covered it. Talked about that. All right, installation. Well, first we got to talk about what kind of crankshafts we have, which I think we already talked about in 310, didn't we?
Sir.
So, since you remember all about it, you can tell me 3 types of crankshafts.
Give me 4.
He can give me 4. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Type 1.
Tape.
Taper. 2.
Spline. Flange.
I don't think that's what.
Don't try.
That's what he said.
It's the tapered spline with the flange on it. Is the third one.
A composite.
Composite.
Taper flange.
Yeah.
So we'll just go with 3 for now until you come up with the other one.
Unless you got it.
All right. So we got all 3 of those. Let's see. I can't remember how much this I really covered in 310, but let's talk about the flanged because he gave them to me in the wrong order. Flanged. First of all, there's a lot of different flange types. So even within engines. So you could say you have a 230, Lycoming 0235, it could have a type 1 or type 2 flange. So they're different flanges. So you have to get the right crankshaft for the engine if you're changing out the crankshaft. So we see typical, there are several types and sizes of flanges. Several types and sizes of flanges. And there's even different size flanges between the different engines, so that's why there's so many different props. Got to make sure you put the right one. There are bushings, with Lycoming anyway, there are bushings pressed into the flange. Which the prop bolts go into. That's more of a Lycoming thing. Or small Continental. Large bore Continentals, they just have holes drilled through the flange. Their flanges are smaller. They're a lot smaller and they're really thick. Yeah, about that big around for a 470, 520. They're pretty small. And there are no bushings, just drilled through. Let's see. But you got to put these bushings in the right way. So bushings may include, and by may they usually do, for Lycoming anyway, may include a master bushing. To prevent prop from being clocked. Clocked means in the wrong position incorrectly. And I mentioned this before. I had a student one time. He dropped out of the first semester, but I said something was idiot proof. And he had the best point. He said, there is no such thing as idiot proof, sir. He said, there's only idiot resistant because they'll always make a better idiot. And he was right. So somebody decided that they would take these flanges, which I should get a picture of, and with the master bushing, and you will have, so let's say we have 6 bolts around the prop, and 5 of these bushings are exactly the same diameter. One of them is a little bit narrower. Take a look at the back of the prop. Pretend like I have a prop. And you have 6 holes. One of those holes is a little bit smaller than all the other ones. That means that little bit smaller hole goes on the little bit smaller bushing. But oh no, they've managed to make better idiots. So they rotate it. Well, now you've got a big hole. And the big hole goes on the small bushing real easy, right? Yeah. But now you got the small hole going on a big bushing. So what does it do? Well, don't worry about that. They tighten this bolt, this bolt, this bolt, and this bolt down and keep bringing it in, and this bushing just goes backwards. So when you look in the back of the flange, you'll see 5 bushings are flush and 1 is sticking out that far. Because you follow what happened? They use the prop as a pusher to push the bushing out. So that's not terribly uncommon to see that on an airplane. So
How, I'm assuming it's dangerous, but you know, what's the, how dangerous?
this guy's like, I'm probably going to do that, so I better ask. Am I going to be in how much trouble am I in if I did that?
Asking for a friend.
Yeah, asking for a friend. Well, there's usually enough thread engagement off of the bolts, and there are 5 out of 6. I don't know, that's a B, right? So still a B. So you're passing grade, and so I've never heard of anything coming off. And now the prop's in the wrong position, and so it wasn't designed to be that way, so you could get some vibration characteristics. But for the most part, I don't think it matters, because I see people flying around all the time with their prop in the wrong position, and they're fine with it. Yeah.
What's remedial action for that? Like, if you were to do that, you pull back off, are you allowed to pull that bushing back into place with the flange?
Yeah, there's a like coming service instruction that tells you about doing it, and so if it's still tight enough and it's not loose, yeah, you can bring it back in. Let's see, being collected, but people do it anyway. Let me see. So incorrect. Installation can cause vibration. Probably not. Oops, I'll put this. May push out master bushing. I just did this on a plane I was looking at the other day. I had pulled the prop off, and I had to get the service instruction where all the master bushings go and verify that everything was lined up properly. They don't make it easy on you. I should pull up that service bolt, but they kind of give you a picture of a flange like that, and there's a little hole here, and they say that is number 1 rod. And then they start showing it, these are the 6. I'm just going to put 5, 6, and mine are in a line there.
Interesting.
Yeah. But my point was, they just tell you where the number 1 rod is. Well, and they had it up top. What does that mean? How am I going to find that? You're expected to know this. It's just the service bulletin says that's number 1 rod position, and they'll say master here. It's not right the way I drew my drawing, but how do you know where the number 1 rod? What are you supposed to do?
What says it? What do you mean?
Just rotate,
Huh?
rotate it to match this picture?
Yeah.
It doesn't. It just no, because there's.
I mean, the way you drew it, it'd be really easy.
Yeah.
There's a hole right there. There's not a hole anywhere
So-
else. Was there an identical hole on the other side that you don't actually know?
Yeah, there was.
What? There's another hole right there.
Yeah.
So
So it was like that. They say-
well, shit.
so they want the number 1 rod to go up. Yeah, it is. It's a symmetrical thing. How are you going to do that?
Is it stamped?
No.
Top dead center and number.
Guess.
Wait a minute.
Top dead center and number 1 cylinder.
Then what? No.
Maybe to the top.
Top dead center number 1 is going to have the mat. So it's going to have the rod going this way.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, so it's.
Measure the holes.
Come on, man.
I feel like I'm missing one spot.
Don't worry about
My
it.
brain hurts.
Just keep putting them in and then testing it and then taking them
So
out.
yeah, just trial and error. I mean, it's only 6 bushings. How hard could it be, right? No, they want the number 1 rod pointed straight up. How you gonna number 1 crank pin? That's it. Number 1 crank pin. I should write
See,
that.
the rod's sticking straight up.
Crank pin. Number 1 crank pin. How do you put the number 1 crank pin up?
TDC and then bring it back by 90 degrees.
TDC back by 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Take out the number 1 spark plug. Bring it up to compression. It doesn't have to be compression. It's just bring it up until I would do compression since that's where the things go. And then now the piston's right here. And bring it back 90 degrees. Gosh, you guys are disappointing me.
They couldn't have just like inscribed something on there or made one like so obviously bigger.
No. Let's see. Okay. Obviously, we're going to install prop per whose directions?
The prop manufacturers.
Airframe?
I'm going to say airframe, but you're not wrong.
Yeah, when we did ours,
I'm going to say airframe and prop, not the engine. The engine although that bushing thing came out of the engine service bulletin, so there's some element of that. So, as per prop instructions, you got to kind of combine the two because the prop will often tell you the torque of the prop bolts. Sometimes the airframe will. Sometimes they both will. Sometimes they don't agree with each other. If they don't, I'm going with the prop manufacturer's instructions. And then the airframe will tell you which way to clock it, which is typically the same. So typical position. So for four-cylinder, because these are easy, four-cylinder. So place engine on number 1 TDC. You guys know how to do that, right? Okay. Everybody's with me on that one? Yeah, what do you mean by TDC? Place the engine on number 1 cylinder, top dead center. We can all do that?
Yep.
Okay. Then what?
Back it up 90 degrees.
Nope.
Wow.
Install prop perfectly horizontal. 3. Take off prop and move in direction of rotation 1 bolt hole. And that's where you should be. So if you're standing in front of the airplane, it would look something like this. 12, 1, 230, 6, 7, 845, I don't know, 830. 10 and 2. Is that 10 and 2? No, that's not 10 and 2. 6, 7, 8.
It's 10 and 6.
6, 7, it's 6 and 8.
I don't think this
Or like
is a
2 and
very
7.
good clock.
7:45, quarter to 8. I don't know.
2 and 7, that sounds right. This way.
I have 8. It says 8 right there. So
Yeah. What do you do with the 3-bladed props?
Acute angle.
well, then you're gonna follow the manufacturer's directions, and it becomes different. But not a lot of 4-cylinders have 3-bladed props.
Does it 4-bladed props?
What about single blade?
Well, then it's gonna be like this.
Yeah. Is it single blade if it's just one big thing that goes all the way through, or is it 2?
No, it's
It's
there
like a
is
straw. Is a straw 1 hole or 2 holes?
I wasn't.
I'm not either.
Propellers to straws.
Yeah, is it one?
Cover everything.
Is your stomach the outside of your body?
I don't know, I just.
No.
Connected from your mouth to your body? Or
That's
just
actually single.
No, but
Got
for what
amputated.
That's a joke.
It's a little nub now.
Yeah, they actually made I think the Germans did it, and at some point somebody said, "Oh, they're the most efficient because they're not running in the prop wake of another one." But I don't know. Then why if that's true, why are they making like 9-bladed props these days?
Oh,
So,
they're probably super low horsepower engines.
yeah,
It's like your
I know it's probably more efficient for a super low horsepower engine.
maybe. When I read the write up on this, the guy was like not overly impressed. So,
Oh, but so, I guess it's like one airplane that does that, so whatever.
all right.
And it would matter though, which way you put it in.
The 9-blade prop show.
Some of these engines, they do have an index pin, Continentals pressed into there. I do have a picture. What's wrong with this picture?
Somebody didn't do it right.
I don't think that's supposed to be pushed in like that.
Unless you know that's the master.
Oh, also, the master, there's this, the starter ring gear is marked for the master bushing. And it has a little O on it. Just a little tiny O stamped on it. Yeah. It's for like, oh, look at you.
Obviously, it goes here.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna make somebody sick. Okay.
Oh, somebody messed it up.
Why is it this the standard thing? This 2 and 8, if you will.
Because
Makes it
everyone
easy.
does it.
Impulses from the.
Impulses are on the left side.
Oh, because when it stops for hand propping.
It's hand propping. I think that's all it is. But people are often shocked that this is top dead center looks like that.
What do they expect?
Straight horizontal. It's like when you, but if you ever,
Oh, yeah,
if
yeah.
you've ever tried to hand prop something that's one bolt hole off, the compression gets about right here. And you're like, eh. But you have to have it start here so you can pull it through.
Yeah.
You get the momentum. So probably for hand propping.
But you don't want that fucking thing to fire when your hands are on it.
No. Let's see.
Yeah, why not?
Actually,
Oh yeah.
weed them out.
See for.
10 chances to get out.
Yeah, they're right when they let go.
All right. Big tips here. If you're working in the field, you wanna know this one. Don't forget spinner
Don't force it.
bulkheads. You get all excited, you get the prop on, you get it torqued up nicely. There's some props where they actually say every time you remove the bolts, you have to have them magnafluxed. So you get it all down there and torqued nice, safety wired with your 04 and you're like, I forgot the spinner bulkhead that goes on first. So sometimes you have a bulkhead to hold the spinner, then the prop, then another bulkhead, then you put it on. So don't forget that.
Have you ever done that?
Not that I can remember. Well, I probably have put it up on there before. I go, wait a minute, that's not right. Torque in a proper pattern. When I torque things in a pattern, I'll do the star pattern, like cylinders or something, whatever, props. And then the last thing I do is I don't do a pattern. I start with 1 and I count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Go in a circle.
Go in a circle. That way I know that I've got everything and I didn't mess up. That's it. Going in a torque pattern. Always go back and count it.
Would that be fine on a wooden one too?
Yep.
Okay.
Every time. Go back and count them. Torque and proper pattern. There is, I'm going to put this. So
Well, that's because you've already reached your torque.
safety. I read something one time that's 040, or I got it at one of my seminars. 040 is called out for Sensenich. And 041 is a Macaulay.
Aren't they practicing?
But there are some, at times, and I read something recently where it allowed .032, so it's an industry standard to use the 04s. So it's just one of those things. I know Phil said something the other day. It was just so on point. And, it was rather you had to do something this way or that way. And he goes, just easier to do it that way than it is to argue about it. And so that's the way I feel about using 041 or 040 on props. Even if I had absolute data that said 032, I just do the 040 rather than deal with people calling you up.
Do 041 then every single time?
I do. I use the 041 for everything because nobody can tell it. Nobody's going to mic your wire.
Well, in the sense, I think it said when we were doing our engine, it said it just says use minimum 040. They didn't say like
Yeah.
use like you had to use it.
Let's see. What if we have? Do you have a question back there?
I was just curious, like, I think you answered it. There's really no difference between 40 and 41 thou.
Some people, I've heard people say that there's a huge difference when you're working it. That 40 is so much easier. It's almost night and day. They said. I don't know. I just always get the 41.
Maybe Donna said that.
All right, taper crank. What do we have to have with the taper crank?
Play-ins, a prop play-in.
Use the adapter hub. Got to have an ADAPT kit. I know we talked all about that hub when we talked about engines, that it's actually a tool and a holder all in one. Remember that? So whenever you see a hub like this, or an adapter or even a hub, So when you tighten it, it tightens the hub on. When you want to remove the hub on a taper crank, when you loosen it up, it's going to get loose and then tight again as it backs up into this ring. And then as you unscrew it, it pulls it off the crankshaft. So it's a puller. That's a pusher and a puller. So if you reach in there and you get out that little snap ring to get this off, you've made a mistake. Now you got the nut off, and now you're going to get this off. Yeah, and this is really like soft. So if you hit it here, you got to hit it. Don't do that. Don't do that thing. So we have the taper crank. Where do we find taper cranks usually? Yeah, okay. Lower horsepower, older engines. Check adapter fit. How do you check the fit?
Prussian blue?
Prussian blue. What's the formula for Prussian blue? Take out half as much as you think you need. Throw away half of that, and now you have twice as much as you need. So you put the Prussian blue on here. Well, if I pack this full of Prussian blue and stick it on there, what's the Prussian blue going to do? It's going to squish out and get on everything. So it's, oh, look, it's perfect. We want to check the fit. So we put just enough on here to leave a film, just a light film. We're going to put it on, tighten it, loosen it, take it back off. Look at the crankshaft flange, and we should see a transfer of Prussian blue. How much?
75%?
Well, we're looking for a C or better.
Fuck, yeah. What's the 75%?
70 or better.
70.
C or better. 70%.
I can
70% contact area.
Trust me, after all the instructor tests, I know it's 70%.
Yes. After we check the adapter fit, what are we going to do? Good, we got 80%. Now what? Nope. I guess I should write this.
Or whatever, not grease it. Anti-seize.
Clean.
Well, clean the brush.
Oh, okay, clean.
Anti-seize.
Clean anti-seize. Anti-seize would have been fine, but I didn't hear that. He's like, put it on. Torque and safety. The safety on some of these old engines is hilarious. I think I mentioned it before. What is the torque for the ground adjustable we have?
Man, 175.
A what?
Man.
A human.
That's right. I'm sorry. You're not allowed to. It's against the it's against the book. A man.
Of 175 pounds.
170. Is anybody here exactly 175 pounds? And now the next question is going to be: is that fully clothed or not?
31 inches away from the center of the hub.
31 inches from the center of the hub. Yes. And there was that movie. Maybe is it this? Oh no, it's one we have. Where wrap smartly with a lead hammer. So.
They have to be able to do 4 pull-ups on the thing too when they do it.
Wait, I've got this cool movie we're going to watch. The guy does it. He's bouncing on it. Oh yeah, it's hilarious. He's got his oh man, it's one of those World War II movies I think done even in Europe, and so he's got his oh man, what's that cream they used? Pomade, yeah, pomade, man. It is like there's more grease in his hair than there is on the airplane. Sweet. All right, safety. How do you safety something like this? Just safety wire through these holes and go to the nearest prop blade.
The little nut goes through there.
Yeah, see these little holes right here?
From the inside out.
Okay, those little holes right there correspond to little holes on the front of the crankshaft. And so you put a pin with there, and you go. The pin goes from the inside out because the centrifugal force throws the pin that way. So you're always looking, how would it stay if the safety broke? So inside out. All right. Spline shaft. Oh, there it is. There's a thing. Also, the bolt's going backwards, by the way. So they go backwards. The prop goes on. It's just a nut. Now, if you're really cool when you're working on something like that, and you have to put the wood prop on, and remember that the bolts turn, so you can line up the holes where the castellations go any way you want them. So you can kind of line them up to do a cool safety wire.
Well, it also shows cotter keys. Item 253.
Oh yeah, use cotter keys. Oh, that's what I always did. I forgot. I always made my cotter keys go around like that, so they all look the same. Sometimes the spinner, they use little skull cap spinners. They're about that big around. They just go on, and they barely go over the bolt heads. So you have to. You won't remember that. I said that, but they have to. You got to have the cotter pins off to the side, or it won't work anyway.
Like the anchor style, or
The what?
where they come out the side instead of.
No, I always go over. All right, we got that. Taper. Look at that. That's our classroom. So you have to, taper. Spline shaft. That's it. Splined. What's so special about the spline shaft? What do we have to know about?
Master spline.
Master spline.
But they're apparently
Dead
used
spline.
on ours.
Used on higher horsepower engines. I know, I was going to make one for that. Often have a master spline. Which is 2 splines missing a valley. Or a screw in the valley. Which would look something like this. You would just have a screw right there. So, or in a different position, but it's right there. So you have a little screw right there, and that'd be called the master spline. And then on the hub,
Quick question.
yeah,
So, which one of the two is the master spline?
oh, like this one or that one?
Yeah.
It's not, it's all of this.
Oh, okay. It becomes one.
Comes one.
Oh, yeah, the two spline.
Yep. And on the prop hub, you're going to be missing one tooth. So if you look in the prop, it'll have splines all the way around, and they'll be like missing one spline, like they ground it right out. Like, hey, they're missing a spline. Yeah, well, that goes right along this right here where it's a double wide spline. So you have a double wide space. Let's see. You do have to, you're supposed to inspect splines with a special go, no-go gauge. Supposed to. I've never done it. I don't think I have this one there, so better write it. Prop hub has a missing spline. Goes over the master spline. That's how you index it. That's how you know where it goes. You can't. That one's pretty much idiot proof. Unless you take the screw out. Or beat on it hard enough. All right, this next one is difficult for some people. So installation uses front and rear cones to center the prop, on the shaft. You write that, I'll get a count.
Yes, a waffle cone. There's a waffle cone.
There's
Only on the
There's an
front.
STC for that. I have STC.
Or
cones on the spline shaft. Here's a cone right here. I don't know if it's a front or a rear, but you have your shaft, right? And so cone's going to go on and go up against the part of the engine, and this is going to help center the hub that comes on there. Follow?
Taper side goes out.
See right there? You see the cone on there? Cone right there. So taper side is going to go out. So the prop hub comes on and it's milled out, and that helps center it. Otherwise it can have a little bit of movement, so you got to center it. That's easy to understand. So we're looking at this right over here, this picture right on this side. That's what I just explained. So you got the engine thrust nut. Your engine didn't have a thrust nut because you have a different type of engine, but a lot of these engines have a ball bearing up front. It has a gigantic nut that you tighten down against the ball bearings. So then this slides on, and then all of this right here is the hub of the propeller. Don't try and make sense of why it looks like an L. They just gave you a little piece of it, all right? So anyway, this hub that, oops, I don't want to do that.
Like when you buy a prop, does it come with the cones or does it come?
No, probably not. It'd come with anything. I can think of charge you extra.
So you definitely have to have the right size too.
Yeah, you can see it back here, the thrust nut. This is not a thrust nut, it's a thrust plate. And so this is the hub we're talking about right here. This green part is the hub, black part is the blades. That's going to slide on over the splines. And the rear hub is going to center on the cone. Got it? Yes, no, I don't know, maybe. Yes, no. Can you repeat the question? All right. But you also have a front cone. And see, here's the front cone. I don't have an example of front cone. We can pretend like it's this one if you'd like. So the hub is going to go on. And now you're going to bring a cone up and you're going to put that on. And then you're going to tighten a nut against that. All right? But what they're showing right here, this is the spline. Remember the splines on the engine? What this cone could potentially hit a spline before it hits the hub. If that happens, you will tighten the nut up against this thing, the cone. So you got a really tight nut on there, but then the whole hub goes back and forth between two cones, and it'll rattle back and forth. Follow that? But you got it's really tight. Why is it tight? Because you tighten it against this, and that's what they're showing here. This cone went up in here, tightened up against this cone, and the hub has a little bit of slop right in here because it hit that spline. This should not hit the spline. It should be tight into the hub with space between here and the spline. Follow? Yeah? Okay. So looking at that, we can look at this. Rear cone bottoms if its point contacts the step in the hub's reed taper. So what happens is this particular one, it's hitting right down here against this instead of on the whole taper. That's bad. So you got to fix that. So you fix it.
How? Lay it down?
I was trying to think what you have to fix it.
Yeah, that's what you fix it. It's like
Well, so you got to, and then
you buy a new one.
and then you buy, and then yeah, you don't grind the prop. Yeah, you fix the cone. You got to take out some of the cone.
I mean,
So you have to modify the cone. You're going to use Prussian blue to make sure you get this in there because it's really important. Otherwise, it's going to get real loose right there, and then the whole prop's going to come loose, ruin the crankshaft, and maybe depart. So you got to make sure that doesn't happen. You don't screw with the hub because we don't touch prop stuff, right? And we're not going to grind on the prop shaft. So we got three things we can modify. We can either modify the cone, the prop, or the crankshaft. Which one do you want to modify?
The cone.
So modify the cone. So grind away some of the cone until it fits.
how far on to the cone does the prop have to sit? Does it matter?
Or you can use Prussian blue and you gotta get a good contact area all the way around.
Oh, you need to have a percentage? of-
Yeah, I don't know if it's a percentage or 100%. I would imagine it's like most of it. I don't know the exact number, but it's kind of like, when you see it. And then this one right here, if you push the hub all the way back, put this on, Prussian blue and pull it off, and if it's not contacting, got the same thing. So if you have this right here, then, let me see.
Maybe a thicker spacing.
I wrote 70%, so yeah, 70%. And then if you've got this going on, then you've got okay, how would you fix this? I remember now.
Thicker cone in the back.
Just space it
You
out.
splice, you put spacers here. You got to move this cone forward. Because grinding this isn't going to do any good. Everybody follow that? So what you need to do is you need to move the hub forward a little bit. How do you move the hub forward a little bit? Put a spacer back here. These are all in the directions, but I think you have some Q&A questions about it.
Yeah, we do.
So it's really not hard if you can picture what this is and just think it through. This is going to require a little bit of cone grinding. This is going to require a little spacing from the rear cone. Push the hub forward. But it's really important. What happens if you're wrong?
Death.
Yeah, that prop starts working on that spline.
Well, what's the problem then? You just said it's working.
It's working on the spline? Yeah, it's working. All right.
Fully articulated
There we go.
prop.
Let's see. Installation uses front and rear cones to send the prop on the shaft. Let's see. Again, we're going to use Prussian blue. Prussian view to verify. 70% contact. Rear cone bottoming. Is a problem. What do we say? Fixed cone? I don't really have anything there. It's just, you got to fix it.
I'm curious on how you actually grind these things down. Seems complicated.
It does. I wouldn't do it. I would talk to a prop shop and say, "This is my problem. What do you got?" And they have some solution like, "Oh, we've got these different cones and stuff like that." These engines are pretty rare. Let's see. Rear front cone. We're going to add spacers. Move rear cone forward. All right, we get any propeller. I don't care what kind of propeller it is. Fixed pitch, constant speed, ground adjustable. We're going to check tracking. After installation. All right, this is a fun one for me because in your book it shows you how to check tracking. And tracking is making sure that the tips come through the same plane. So I don't know if this works. Probably doesn't. But one tip reaches the same point as the other tip. So you got it on the plane. You bring it around, you have wood on the bottom, and you mark it, and you go, okay, that's where that goes. And you bring the other blade around, and it comes around, you mark it, and you go, all right, they're both at the same spot, right? That's tracking. And what's hilarious is to watch students try and find the right amount of wood to make that exact little space down there. But guess what? We live in a 3D world, and you can use anything. So you can do it like that, and make a mark, and bring the other propeller around, and make a mark on anything at any height. So you don't have to find a stack of wood like that. So I guess it's time to go, huh? It's a little early, but.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't just stack wood up and go.